So they told us that wealth was locked behind boardroom doors that we would never enter. That freedom was preserved for the privileged, the connected, and the already rich. But let me tell you something, that was a lie. See, we are the generation that's rewriting the rule book. See, we don't need $1 million fund. We don't need a landlord's permission. But what we do need is a blueprint, y'all. That's exactly what I'm about to lay down. This is Airbnb Pro Tips, and I am your host, Earl McCray. Every week, we're breaking down real game from real entrepreneurs on how to launch, automate, and scale that Airbnb business. We're giving you the strategies, the money moves, and the mindset shifts that will separate those from the dreams from those who are executing on those dreams. Here, we celebrate the wins, both big and small. Here, we talk to real entrepreneurs, the one that took action and changed their lives. Here, we're giving you the blueprint so that you can stop watching and start building. So, if you're ready to tap into your God-given ability to turn knowledge into passive income, to create a system that works for you instead of you working for it, hey, welcome home. This is where transformation begins. This is where faith meets execution. This is where you level up your Airbnb game. This is Airbnb Pro Tips. Start shortly. Next slide. All right. And Suzanne, I see you on board. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Get my next slide up here.
You have that square right in the center.
Yep.
It's mine. Yeah.
Getting ready to disappear.
Thank you.
Yep. Absolutely. All right. So our agenda items are as following. So I always start with something from the world of Airbnb, something funny, something interesting, something provocative. As more people congregate, we'll talk about, anyone wants to share any success, any wins for the week. And then we typically like to end with any marketplace questions that people are running into, and this kind of creates an opportunity to kind of meet your real world questions with some real world answers. So I'm going to actually start with this, and I run mine. I did a little different than 10x because I actually like to go macro, big picture, short-term rental, and how that trickled down to the little folks who are trying to figure this thing out. So this is a gentleman. He's very prolific. He has a lot of, I'm a member of one of his communities, but he has a lot of videos. I'm gonna play a clip, and I'm just gonna have the community kind of comment on what you're hearing, what you think he's saying, and how we should be kind of responding to it. So let's get started here.
Here are the 10 things that you need to know to be a top 1% Airbnb host this year going into 2026. Starting with number 10, Airbnb has made a whole suite of changes to their policies, and they're not telling you everything. Airbnb has a non-circumvention policy that they're enforcing with AI. If your listing gets taken down, they use AI to find if you're creating a new one. Their off-platform policy they are enforcing by using fake phone numbers to route text messages through Airbnb. So when you text your guest a DM, That's not the guest that you're texting. They can read all of what you think to be private conversations. All of this is to ensure quality control on Airbnb because they want to remove the bad players. Sonder just went out of business because of these policy changes, and further, Airbnb removed all of the benefit of Superhost and put it all into guest favorites. So that way your one listing, if you do well with that listing, it gets the boost, but your account does not. The ninth thing that you need to know, you need to be aware of the Airbnb algorithm. Airbnb has changed their algorithm over the years to go from an interest algorithm to a satisfaction algorithm to this full life cycle mix that includes interest and risk mitigation. From what we have been able to learn over the years, we are calling what Airbnb's created a true negative score for your listing. Any negative aspects of your listing are marked, and then you have a final negative score, which may be -10 or -20 out of a score of 10,000. But when you change your cancellation policy from flexible to moderate to firm to super strict 30, that number multiplies. Airbnb ultimately wants to prevent guests from having a bad experience. So on the flip side, you can boost your ranking on Airbnb, not just by lowering your price for the property that you have, but also loosening up your cancellation policy. And Airbnb, starting in 2026, is going to let you do this dynamically. So day to day, you can be firm or flexible, depending on how hard that day is for you to get booked. So get ready, don't be so sticky on your cancellation policies, and you will rocket to the top of the algorithm. Number 8 on the things that you need to know. This one is becoming more important every year because everybody seems to have signed up for Pricelabs or a software just like it. There are over 70% of people who use a pricing software, and that makes them ineffective for everybody on the software. If you're one of the 30% without a software, you could go completely dead because you're not moving with the market. But because everybody's moving to the same degree in the same direction, this is called herding. This is a level 1 deviation, and for you to succeed in 2026, you need to take your pricing system and start to manage above the system. There is a playlist for free on pricing strategy on this YouTube channel. We'll leave it at the end of the video. And the 7th thing that you need to know, interior design is more important than it's ever been because Airbnb is full of supply. But over the last 10 years, it's increased in quality as well. Your market may be oversupplied but have terrible hosts. You could have basic furniture and give good service and be okay. But more and more cities like Nashville and Miami and even here in Dallas or Chicago, the quality is increasing. To stand out and to get booked, we have to put true effort into our listing, and that starts with interior design. The 6th thing that you need to know, more than interior design, interior decorating as well. It's not just a perception of quality, but it's creating that got-to-have-it aspect of your listing. Color theory goes a long way when creating your Airbnb listing because it gives you hero photo opportunities, which we'll cover here in a second. And beyond the aesthetic, a guest can tell if you're a host that cares. The way that you decorate a home signals to somebody that you're not just a rich real estate mogul that wants everybody's money. Perception of effort and perception of care come through with interior decorating. Coming in number 5 on the things you need to know. You know, this isn't just about Airbnb, is it? All the best hosts in the world are going multi-channel and they're going direct. Airbnb has less than 50% market share. That means if you're getting over 90% of your bookings on Airbnb, you are absolutely missing out. And here's a new way to look at this. There are a lot of new channels that people aren't on yet. But if you're on Wimstay and Hopper and Vrbo and Booking.com and Trip.com and all these other places, and one of them spends some money on some marketing, and then guests come to that site and find your listing, and you're one of the only ones with a listing there, you can charge the prices you want and the terms that you want. So go multi-channel. Even if you're just a little bit early, it will pay off in the long run. The 4th thing that you need to know, managing your brand will be one of the most important parts of 2026 because there's going to be so much opportunity for you here in the world of direct booking. Ask yourself, who is my brand? Not what is my brand? Because your brand has a personality. It has a voice. The way that you message someone on Airbnb starts to define the feel, tone of your brand. And when a guest is looking for a home on Vrbo, we have to ask, what are they expecting on Vrbo? And how can my brand interface with that expectation? Same thing with Airbnb. Airbnb guests want something different than Vrbo guests. They don't want a house, they want an experience. And the way that Vrbo is spending money on advertising quiet places to read books, while Airbnb is advertising places that Elphaba flies her broom, these are completely different tones in their marketing. But then yourself or myself, we have to ask, how do we fit into this brand story? Think of it like a TikTok trend where everybody gets on a trend. Everybody is different, but there is something that's the same. Vrbo and Airbnb and Booking.com, these are the trends and we are the creator. Start thinking like a creator, and you're going to make a lot of money in 2026. The third thing that you need to know, if I'm going to predict anything in this video for you, it's that 2026 will be the year of the marketer. Real estate investors are suffering more and more and more as their average listings are getting less placement in the algorithm. It's because the customer is evolving in what they want. And in order for a company to keep up with customers, they have to understand the customer, which is the heart of marketing. I was able to make a listing go viral with over 70% average click-through rate conversion from view to click on Airbnb. And I did this with content marketing practices, how to make a thumbnail that people have to click, kind of like this YouTube video. So if you study content marketing and funnels, you can directly apply anything that you learn about a sales funnel to your Airbnb listing, create curiosity, get the click, confirm the click with your top 5 photos, build trust along the way, and use a call to action to get them to book. Textbook funnel. And the second thing you need to know, if you can find a way to automate your messages, where a guest doesn't know that your messages are automated, you can find a way to get 5-star reviews every time. And the trick to this is to set an automation that starts a conversation. The way that I do this and the way that you can copy is find something nearby that you like to recommend, put it in your guidebook, but then have an automated message that says, "Hi, welcome to Dallas. While you're staying here, I really recommend this restaurant or this bakery for this pretzel croissant, one of my favorites. Check it out. I hope you like it." And then after the stay is over, your follow-up message says, "Hey, did you get a chance to check out that bakery with the pretzel croissant? What did you think?" That was automated. They had no clue. Doesn't make any sense to automate that. But after they respond to that message, you have a real conversation that allows you to ask for the review if the sentiment was good enough to ask for the review. That way you don't offend anybody with an automated message where they were already mad at you to begin with. This will save your 5-star review percentage and keep you on guest favorites. And finally, number 1 on what you need to know in 2026. This is absolutely crazy, hosts. This may be the best year to start or expand your Airbnb business. And it's because of this collapse that we're experiencing, not just in the rental market, but also in the home sales market. There are more homeowners trying to sell than ever before. It's so bad that Trump mentioned a 50-year mortgage as a possible solution, which is a terrible idea to anybody who understands that the lifetime value of a loan would completely balloon with all those extra interest payments. But we can all ask ourselves as professionals here, what does this mean for us? This means that there's homeowners locked into a property that they cannot get rid of, and they have to pay the mortgage. The 2 opportunities that you have is to expand aggressively, either through co-hosting partnerships or rental arbitrage with these owners that are forced to become landlords now. And because they're forced to be a landlord, they're more likely to say yes to arbitrage because they've never been a landlord before. They would love a responsible professional who knows how to manage a property to be the one renting. And some of these owners will have enough money and enough ambition to buy their own furniture and want to capture the upside. So as long as you give these owners the option of co-host or arbitrage, you can pick up tons and tons of property this year. You won't need to buy a single door, and you can 10x your portfolio. All right, friends, that's all 10. Here's the playlist on pricing strategy so you can continue your price journey. But here's one on the algorithm too, in case your prices are just fine and you really...
All right. So I gave us a really good smorgasbord of things that we can talk about. So, Suzanne, what did you see that resonated with you that I could maybe expound upon a little bit?
Just a second. I'm trying to start the video. There we go.
Okay.
I think he had some things I didn't understand, like pricing programs and then arbitrage. Those are things that I would have asked you later about. I think the talk about the change in the market is good to know. I also heard, it's a lot, how does somebody look or present themselves first time? So the pictures are key. So I also heard lots of work.
Yep. Yep.
But I heard, if you've got you got to go for looks and you got to go for personal contact.
Okay. I can circle back to some of that. All right. Miss Jordan, how are you doing? And if you could come off of mute and just tell me something that resonated in that short spiel that I could double back on. Miss Jordan, your mute button is
Hi.
on. Yeah,
I
there you
kind of
go.
came in. Kind of came in late.
Okay.
Um, I would love to have seen that video, see that video at the beginning, actually.
I
But
I can send it to you directly. But
okay,
for
great.
the small piece that you did see, what if anything caught your attention that you'd like me to kind of circle back to and talk more about?
I don't know. I think what I'd seen it was all good. Um, about getting ready for next year.
Hmm.
I don't know. I don't know. I have to pass on that. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I got to see the video again, actually.
Okay. Yeah, that's no problem. Okay. So I got some places that I got pricing programs, I got arbitrage, some of the changes in the market. I also wrote down pricing strategy because for some reason that resonated with me, and I wanted to mention a couple things about that with you guys. So those are the items I'm going to circle back to. And do I have a chat in the message? Okay, no, I don't have to worry about that. All right. So, typically what I like to do before I answer questions is I like to start with momentum. I like to talk about wins for the week. So if you guys would come off of mute and just share with me and the community, what's been going well for you this week? Anything?
I'm learning more and more the longer I do it. So the goods, the bads, and the things where you get the doors shut on you, you just keep going.
Okay. That's yeah. The goal is to grow and not go through this journey called life. And absolutely in this experience, you definitely gonna learn by falling I call it failing forward or falling forward. That's where the growth is. So, definitely I appreciate your share out with that. All right. Ms. Jordan, what about you? What are some wins you have for the week?
Well, I'm speaking to this woman now. I kind of screwed up because I got kept getting her address mixed up. I don't even understand why. But anyway, but she was nice. She was nice about it. I'm gonna call her tonight. Well, I told her what I did. I
Mhm.
followed your directions. I asked her, was the property still available? I got a
Mhm.
name wrong. Somehow I got the name wrong. You know, when you're doing so many properties, when you're doing so much prospecting, oh my God, I got the woman's name wrong. I'm like, oh my God. But she was nice about it. She said, and then she said, oh, well, that's not my property. But then she told me she had properties. So I
Plural.
said, yeah. So
Plural. I like that. Okay.
yeah. So I told her what I did. She didn't say no, she's not interested. So I spoke to her last night. That's the last time I spoke to her. So I'm gonna call her tonight just to see if she pick up the phone type
Okay.
of thing. You know, I'm trying to
So,
build a
so
relationship with her actually. Although I made a mistake, I apologize 100 times, but um I told her I have a new cell phone and I'm trying to learn it and I'm going from Android to iPhone and I'm trying to learn it. And I apologize to her, but she didn't sound upset. She didn't
mhm,
say she's not interested. So I'll see what happens tonight.
sounds good. Sounds real good. Um, so I guess my win for the week, and I'll share it with you, is sometimes staying on top of technology is hard. Like you'll have like Suzanne and I were talking about Pricelabs today. So Pricelabs is the technology that we use to run our dynamic pricing. And I recently learned that they came up with a add-on to their technology. And I'm gonna screen share because I'm so proud of what it now allows me to do. So I'll screen share take you to my back office of Pricelabs. So what, if I can get out of this presentation. All right, here we go. So monitor present. So this is Pricelabs. Let me hide my floating bar. Okay. So normally, so Pricelabs allow us to link our properties to Hospitable. And from Hospitables, we now can get our pricing. You'll notice that every day the pricing goes up and down. All right. 117 during a weekday, but hold on the weekend it's now 140. Why? Because of demand. So that's kind of why we love when we talk about in our landlord pitch about revenue management. This is what we're talking about. This is why most people that don't have dynamic pricing can't necessarily compete against us, because the way the AI is working on paper, I may have a smaller occupancy in terms of nights booked, but I'm actually in a position to make more revenue because the nights I actually have booked, based on me raising my price for the demand and lowering my price when the demand goes up, I can get a higher dollar value per night. So big picture, anytime you and I are collaborating and I'm working with you on the operation side, we're going to have this on board. Okay. And you guys can see Christmas Day is 176, but you know what? The demand is still higher on the weekend. So that's why you see a price difference. So what they recently did, and this is my win, is they added another feature where you can actually take a new listing that you have online and compare it to the competition, and it gives you recommendations on how to make your listing stronger. And so where's my shortcut? How do I get back to it? Okay. So this is one such listing. So this is a listing. Here it is. I'll let the people at home see it. This is a listing that we recently put online in Texas. And so what I ended up doing is taking my domain, copying that, pulling it over here to Pricelab, and on December 12th, it analyzed it. And during its analysis, it got back to me in like 8 hours. During its analysis, it gave me a rating out of 10. So in this first rating, you guys see I got 6.9. I got a 70% out of 10, or 70% of 100 if you think about it that way. So man, I got some room to grow. But it also gave me some feedback. It gave me a B for my listing score. It gave me a C for my images. It gave me a B for my listing description, an A for my amenities, and it also had some other perform. So what I do now, we get a new listing online, I put it through this software, and it will give me an opportunity of how to optimize, how to make the listing better. So for this listing, it told me, okay, a couple images I had to get rid of. They were blurry. A couple captions, I had to make them more captivating. Some of the attractions in the area, I had to give proximity. So it was it was a big, because I have been doing this myself, but it's been more intuitive. Now I actually have a tool that I can use that helps me streamline the process. So that's my win, a technology win.
What does it cost per month, Earl?
So in this prescription, I ended up doing the I could do it by listing, but I said, well, now I got volume, so let me just go ahead and pay the $25 a month. So for me, it makes sense. I can bake it in, like Suzanne and you talked about. I can bake it into some of the upsells that we have, so that in fact the guest ends up paying for it in the end. But this is um a thing that I'm happy to do, as I mentioned you guys, and you guys start learning. And so now that I've made some of the adjustments in a week, or excuse me, and probably on the weekend, I'm gonna run it again and see if I go from the 6.9 up to an 8. After I get to about an 8, a 9, I'm not going to try to get to 10, because what I can do, I will do. But I kind of know the goal is to have all A's and B's and have no C's. So this image, it gave me a couple recommendations on which pictures to get rid of. So all of the bed shots I got rid of, and I re-uploaded from the professional frame. So yeah, that's my win. That's my win. All right, so let me stop screen. Anybody have any more questions before I leave Pricelabs? All right. Just let me stop screen sharing. And let me go back to the list.
I think that's cool, because you want to know, exactly what you're doing. Like, oh, that's cool. That's a nice tool, I think. I
Yeah, I
think
mean,
it's worth $25.
yeah, no, I mean that's what I kind of do with my spare time. I'm a little bit of a geeky. Anytime that we can use AI to, out the competition, that's kind of where I'm going. That's where my brain is. Okay. All right, so let's talk about a few of these questions. Okay. I'm gonna get the low-hanging fruit. So rental arbitrage, Suzanne, what do you think it is?
Arbitrage is when you pay the rent and then you rent it out. I gather with
100%.
a price increase, but you have to pay the landlord whatever rent
Absolutely.
he's.
Yep. And so there's different iterations of rental arbitrage. Some people kind of specialize in multi the multi bedroom house, 4 or more bedrooms, and other people are more higher end, where they focus on apartment buildings, and folks who are coming to an area for like a honeymoon, or like a romantic getaway. um all super good models. You just got to know your market. And so when my wife and I were in the rental arbitrage season of our business, because of how our city is set up, this is not like a destination spot, but we have like 5 major research hospitals. So our bread and butter for like 3 years was the rental arbitrage with the traveling nurses. And we did 2 versions of it. We did one version where we had the whole unit, if we had a smaller space, and then in the other version, if we have 4 or 5 bedrooms, people shared their common area, and they were actually in the actual rooms. And it was a smaller price point for them, so they would actually be able to keep more of their money, and then obviously send it back home. So they both work. I think the key, in my caution to anybody that does something like rental arbitrage, is to make sure that there's not so much volatility, in the season so that the profits that you make in the high season, you don't actually end up giving them back to the landlord in the low season. Because that's the kind of cycle we found ourselves in after about 3 years. So we kind of pivoted and went a different direction. Arbitrage. Did my answer create any other questions about arbitrage? All right. Arbitrage done. All right, Suzanne, you talked about pricing programs. Tell me what you were thinking so I can be a little bit more precise in speaking about that.
Well, we haven't talked a lot about pricing programs, so obviously this gentleman said there's a lot of platforms out there, and I'm unaware of those.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So one of the things that, I didn't have to research is Pricelabs. I didn't do a lot of research with Pricelabs because I had heard it come off the lips of other people who I knew and I kind of respected. But so here's the thing. Um, if I had to go back in time, knowing kind of what I know now, and you guys are going to see a big theme here is I do a ton of research. And if I had to go back in time, I would simply leverage some of the stuff that you guys have seen me do before. So let me clear this out. So one of the things I would do is let me open up another tab under prospecting. Okay. And because I've been training, hey ChatGPT, I am interested. I'm currently using pricing software called Pricelabs. Who are Pricelabs competition and what are the pros and cons of these other softwares? I need to be able to explain it if someone in my community wanted me to defend why we use Pricelabs as opposed to another platform. Do that research and get back to me. So what else is out there besides Pricelabs? Let's let's talk about it. Ooh, there's a lot. Okay.
Here's a no-nonsense breakdown of Pricelabs competitors, pricing software that host property managers actually compare when choosing tools, with pros and cons so you can confidently explain why you choose Pricelabs to your community. I've grouped them by type and use case so it's easy to defend your choice. Core dynamic pricing tools, direct competitors. These are tools focused specifically on automated pricing revenue management, the closest apples-to-apples alternatives to Pricelabs. Tar 1, Wheelhouse. Who It Is, a dynamic pricing tool built by revenue management experts focused on automating rates using market data. Hotel Tech Report Pros, strong user interface and straightforward reporting. Folks often find it easier to get started. Hotel Tech Report offers preset strategies, conservative, aggressive, recommended, for quick decisions. Hotel Tech Report, packed with competitor insights and comp set tools. Go SummerCons, fewer customization options compared with Pricelabs, especially if you want very fine control. Hotel Tech Report, some features like additional OTA pushes may cost extra. Bigger pockets, good for hosts who want simplicity, strong recommendations without deep rule building. #2, Beyond, formerly Beyond Pricing. Who It Is, one of the earliest Airbnb pricing tools, automatically sets pricing with minimal input. Zevo Pros, very easy to use, minimal tweaking needed to get dynamic pricing running. Reddit, charges based on performance, 1% of booking revenue, so the vendor profits only when you do. Reddit Cons, less control over specific pricing rules and customization than Pricelabs. Reddit, black box pricing can frustrate data-driven operators who want deeper levers. Some users report less reliable accuracy in certain markets. Reddit, good for smaller portfolios or hands-off hosts who value simplicity over granular tuning. #3, AirDNA, smart rates. Who it is, not a pure pricing engine, but has smart rates, dynamic pricing based on market data. Mashvisor Pros, integrated with AirDNA's massive data suite, giving broader market context. MotoPress, useful if you also need market analytics and investment data. Cons, pricing tool isn't as robust or specialized as Pricelabs or Wheelhouse. Mashvisor, you may pay for data you don't fully use if your primary need is pricing. Good for investor hosts who want big picture market insight plus pricing guidance. 4, Quibble, who it is, newer dynamic pricing engine using real-time search demand and AI. Quibble Pros, AI real-time focus could deliver sophisticated price optimization. Quibble cons and unknowns, less proven and not as widely adopted as Pricelabs, so fewer community benchmarks. Good for data-obsessed operators willing to beta newer approaches. All-in-one vacation rental platforms, some have pricing built in. These aren't pure pricing tools, but include dynamic pricing features as part of broader property management ecosystems. Hostaway, what it is, full property management software, PMS plus channel manager with analytics. Get at Pros, one place for messaging, bookings, ops, and pricing. G2 cons, pricing insights may not be as deep as a dedicated pricing platform like Pricelabs. Good for growing businesses that want a single operational platform. Wahat, OwnerRez, Guesty, Logify, Breezeway, etc. These tools offer booking, messaging, automation, sometimes pricing. Capterra Pros manage everything from one dashboard. Cons, their pricing modules are often more basic than dedicated dynamic pricing tools. Good for hosts who need ops automation and can live with simpler pricing. Airbnb Smart Pricing, free. Pros, zero cost, always available. Hometime cons, far less customization, limited to Airbnb listings, and generally more conservative than third-party tools. Hometime, good for beginners or test runs, not great for serious revenue ops. Why Pricelabs still wins and how to explain it. When somebody asks you why Pricelabs versus the rest, these points separate the tool in a practical, defendable way. Customizable rules control. Pricelabs lets you set your strategy, minimums, maximums, stays, seasonality, segmented rules, without forcing a one-size-fits-all. That's a big deal for professional hosts and managers who understand their market. Your rentals, market-driven plus granular data. It pulls demand signals, seasonal patterns, and competitor metrics every night and adjusts prices accordingly, without you babysitting spreadsheets. Pricelabs, flexible pricing model. You can choose monthly or percentage-based billing, which means pricing scales with your business and gives you predictable budgeting. Your rentals, integrations, it connects with most PMS, channel managers, and listing sites. Over 100 plus channels, ensuring pricing syncs across platforms. Your rentals' deep analytics for strategic decisions. Pricelabs offers dashboards and insights you can actually act on, not just pretty numbers. That's a differentiator when you're optimizing a portfolio or coaching others in STR revenue strategy. Proven track record. Hosts and managers consistently listed as a top dynamic pricing tool. User ratings tend to be high compared to others.
That's a lot of information. So the bottom line. So there are alternatives. Wheelhouse and Beyond are the biggest direct competitors. And then this AirDNA and Quibble are emerging as all-in-one PMS platforms. So Pricelab hits the sweet spot for most people who want controlled, data-rich integration and scalability. I think the biggest for me was the whole scalability. As we add more properties, it's actually cheaper for us because they give us a volume discount. And the data is great. The data is really, really good. So I probably, Suzanne, gave you a drink of water with a fire hose. Didn't mean to do that. Did that explanation lead to more questions?
I learned a lot, but it's not like a fire hose. I think it was more a waterfall.
Waterfall. All right. Well, as we get closer to that information, I hate when people say, well, when you need to know that information, you'll get it, because that's not fair. That's because you can retain information if you have prior knowledge. So let me just say the prior knowledge piece is just knowing that if you don't if you don't have something, whether it's Price Labs or whether it's something else, your prices are the same across the board, irregardless of what the demand is. And like one of the things I always do, I'm gonna go back into Price Labs and give you an example of who I know our competition is and who isn't. So so I go into Price Labs. Let me hide some of these fields here. Hide. I go into a property. Okay. Okay, which property am I? So let me go into the Texas property. And I go to neighborhood data. And then there's an area called competition calendar. You guys can see it, competition calendar. What I want you to know is, okay, so here's our property right here. And you'll notice that as we go across the from day to day, our numbers are moving. So it's 152 today, tomorrow is 149 tomorrow, and then it's all the way up to 178. Well, you have the person right below me, Casa, close to Austin, 3 bedroom. They have a stagnant price of 134, 134, 134, 134. And so that's one key for me saying, all right, this is not a professional operator. This is more like a mom and pop situation. And then I look at their rating. Okay. Anything below 4.8 means to me that they haven't really dialed it in just yet. This person here is at a 4.7. Okay. In contrast, this next person here is a new operator. I don't see any ratings. And lo and behold, everything is one price, 142. Below that, I'm looking at this person has 6 reviews and they're 5.0. And lo and behold, look, it looks like this property is either a room rental, and I say it's a room rental because the price point is so low. So it's $75 a night. And so in some nights it's not available, and it doesn't look like it's available because it's occupied. They've just blocked off the dates. Okay. And then I can, so now this person right here, Cozy. Cozy is an operator. Cozy is somebody I will watch. Cozy has a 4.99. Cozy has their prices dialed in. I'm gonna open up Cozy, and I'm gonna see what my new listing is competing against. Looky here, looky here. Not only are they a super host, not only have they been in the game 8 years, they're also a guest favorite. You know what the difference between superhost and guest favorite is, ladies? Because it's really important. Anyone?
But let me ask you, how's her rating so low? Well, is that low?
No, that's phenomenal rating.
Okay.
Her rating is a 4.99.
From
So
five.
yeah, so out of
Okay.
hundreds of guests, one person didn't want to give her a 5.
Okay.
Okay. But so here's more important, and you guys may have heard this in the video. You used to get the algorithm used to favor everything that you put up there if you were a super host. And So you got extra love, basically, is what I call it. So anytime I co-host it with someone, if we could use their rating or my rating, because I was always a super host, they always put me on the first page because my super host status meant something. Now the super host status really doesn't mean a whole lot. Why? Because guest favorite has supplanted that. What's guest favorite basically saying is that you have a minimum of 5 people that have given you a 5-star rating for that property. So Superhost looks at your body of work, but guest favorite looks at the actual property itself. So here's the reality. When we launch our first property together, Airbnb will give us an inflated push to the first page for about 30 to 45 days. So people will see our stuff before they'll see the guest favorite stuff. But after that 45 days is over, we're going to float back down, and whoever the guest favorite is going to, their listings will show before ours. So here's our play, all right? Our play is this. And this is why, for me as an operator, when you bring me something that's a short-term rental, I can maximize it and make it glow faster than a midterm rental. Because here's the deal. All we have to do is get 5 reviews of 5 stars. Here's how I do it. When we initially set up your listing, I will actually pay for the reviews by decreasing our price, undercutting everybody by 30%. So I'm going to decrease our price by 30% so we can get those 3 really quick clients in, and we're going to service them to death with really good service. So we'll have 3 5-star ratings, and we only need 2 more to get, so we can earn guest favorites. So I know that was a lot of kind of technical information, but did I confuse anybody? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So if I were to give you guys a quiz, what's more important, Superhost or guest favorites?
Guest favorites.
Absolutely, all day, every day. This is a pretty homestead. I mean, the reason I like it is it's not over the top. Like, I'm not seeing a sauna, I'm not seeing a pool, I'm not seeing a game room. So anybody can get to this level. This is quality.
It's nice.
Yeah. Bathroom is nice. That might be a whirlpool, may not be, but I mean, the idea is that when we pay outdoor eating, nice. They got some I forgot what this lighting is called, but these are the kind of suggestions, ranch style. These are the kind of suggestions that we would give the property owner. Oh, this is kind words from guest reviews. Okay, look at this. Now this is something I might start doing for our listings. So they kind of did a word wall of all of the reviews they've gotten from guests and the reviews that came back to. So the way this program works is the bigger the word is the more often guests use it in their review. Great, clean, nice, comfortable, amazing, easy, quiet, cozy. I'm actually going to take a screen. I think this is a great idea. And ladies, this is exactly what Earl does. I steal from the best operators and make it my own. That's one thing they told me as a teacher. The teacher is you want to copy, you want to be a copycat, but you want to copy the right cat. So good stuff. I like that. All right. So I
It's
copied
just-
that. Um, I'm gonna get out of here now. So this is an exemplary listing, and this is one of the listings that I will be tracking moving forward as this list. So this listing, guys, is about 2 weeks old that I'm referring to. So this is not a mature listing. Okay. Any questions before I pivot away from here? This is another amateur right here, right at the bottom, 118 across the board. And well, no, well, okay. I'm gonna eat my words. They do have a 4.9 rating. And they do have 65 listings or reviews rather, but they're not using dynamic pricing. Okay. Erica is a super host and she is a guest favorite, but she is not using dynamic pricing. Interesting. Okay. So there's one generalization that I made that, I will definitely have to be more cognizant of. Looks like they got a fire pit. Okay. All right. Cool beans. All right. We got 10 minutes before the top of the hour. Was there any questions that you guys had that I touched upon, but I didn't actually get to? Because sometimes I'll go down a rabbit hole unintentionally. Change in the market. I think I heard you say that, Suzanne, right?
Yeah, Earl, what I was asking about is how would they add dynamic pricing to their listing? Is there a link on Pricelabs they have not activated?
They're not actually using Pricelabs.
So where would you get dynamic pricing? Off of Pricelabs?
So any one of the services that that AI just kind of went down real quick offers dynamic pricing. Even Airbnb
Okay.
offers a dynamic pricing tool called Smart Pricing. Now,
Called
and
what
that's
again?
what
Say that again.
Airbnb offers something called Smart Pricing.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but they, I'm here's what I'm gonna imagine. I'm imagining that they tried Airbnb Smart Pricing, and like I did, and everything got jacked up. Because Airbnb's software is not as intuitive, so it's much harder to use. So a lot of people they either use it once, have a bad experience, and never use it again, or they have a bad experience. And like me, they're part of a community and they learn these best practices, and someone recommends an alternative, and that's what happened to me. Okay, so last 5 minutes, they talked about the change in the market. They talked about homeowners making a decision to they can't sell property because you never want to sell it for less than you purchased it for. It makes better sense just to hang on to it. So, why not try rental arbitrage, or why not try um a model like us where we talk about co-hosting. So ultimately that's going to create more opportunities for folks like ourselves who are in this lane and who are perfecting our craft and who can actually bring value to people um, who have these pain points. So this is like the guy said, this is actually the best time in the cycle to get into Airbnb, especially if you're learning what not to do so you can mitigate any mistakes. So that's one thing I will kind of co-sign on. I absolutely agree with that completely. All right. I want to summarize if there's no other questions with this thought. Well, for you, Miss Jordan, what were two things that you took away from our community call today? 2 things you didn't know.
Well, I didn't know about the pricing with Pricelab. I never even seen the inside of Pricelab website actually. But
Very
I
good.
think that that new thing they have about giving you a grade score, I think that's really cool. This way you know what to work on.
For sure. So you have a focus point. Okay.
Hmm.
Awesome. What about for you, Suzanne?
I am just taking it all in. I think what she stated, it's good to look at comparison, and I'm impressed with Price Labs. So
Mhm. Yeah. Okay. Well, very
How,
good.
how, how much is membership with Pricelab? I know you said $25 a month, but is that for that particular grading system or is that just for the membership monthly?
So if you have one property on Price Lab, it works out to be about $20 per property. But the more properties you have, overall it goes from like $20 to like $19 to $18. So the average
Mm,
is the more properties you have, the closer it is, you know, probably a lot closer to $15 a month per property.
that's not bad.
No, not at all. Not at all. All right. Well, good people, that is a wrap. I have another coaching call at the top of the hour. As you guys know, my goal is to make you guys money. And if I'm successful in doing so, you take that good deed and make the world a little brighter. All right. Take care, everybody.
Okay, good night.
All right. Good night.